Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I haven't bought a PowerPoint as good as that one there. Walter has, so you have to go back to the old-fashioned notepad and, frankly, making it up as you go along. It's probably been how I've managed to be a county councillor for 21 years. Nano-thinking and then speaking the nanosecond later, and sometimes getting myself into trouble. So, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to give you the answer in case you get it wrong. What then actually joins together a community office, which is also a volunteer and community organisations base, that is now seeing a footfall of 100,000 people per year, although obviously quite often the same people come in time and again. It serves a community of about 5,000 people, so you can see how well used it is. District council office, but you can pay council house rents, council tax, council car park fines, make inquiries, housing inquiries, rubbish inquiries, you name it. A county council office, a police station, a library, an internet cafe, very heavily used by a contingent of population from Eastern Europe, about 70 in all, and obviously by local people as well. A community minibus service with 10 minibuses and one 4x4 for the most extraordinary home-to-school journeys, more later. A post office, we were about to lose it. A sorting office, 2 branch post offices. A community land trust, bringing forward 4 affordable houses to rent, so actually affordable houses to rent in perpetuity. On Radio 4 today, I woke up this morning to my dulcet tones at 5:45 in the morning, listening to Farming Today. And also, and finally, the first community-run petrol garage, I should say diesel as well, because we sell both, in England, the Dale Head Garage. What brings all of that together in a deeply rural base in the Upper Dales, England's county council most remote and sparsely populated division, 325 square miles, home to 5,000 people, 5,000 cattle, 250,000 sheep, and 1 million rabbits. The latter is growing exponentially. 17 miles from nowhere, so places I describe as nowhere, as big as Leyburn and Sedbergh, probably about 2,000. 27 miles from somewhere, places like Richmond and Kendal. 37 miles from somewhere where you can actually get something done in the way of dealing with your day-to-day needs from public authorities, Northallerton, Darlington, Lancaster, and 60 miles from our nearest tertiary hospital, which is one that serves you as well, the James Cook. What brings all those services together to form what we have now, the Upper Dales Community Partnership? I tell you, local services accessibly locally for the benefit of the local communities. I'm not renowned for repetition, say it once and say it right and say it direct, but I've repeated the word local there because that's what it's all about in the Upper Dales. in communities that are right at the very top of the index of multiple deprivation for barriers to services and housing, locally being on your doorstep in having to travel miles and miles to reach those services is hugely important. Because deep rurality is expressed in time, distance and cost for the local communities that live in those deeply rural areas. And there's a byproduct for what we've done in the Upper Dales, and that byproduct is employment. What started by me 20 years or so ago is now an organisation with a turnover of £1.75 million. It employs either directly or protects employment 25 full or part-time employees. It engages with 60 volunteers, mainly but not exclusively community minibus drivers, and it makes a contribution to that remote local economy of around, in terms at least of payroll, just under £250,000 a year. If you add in the postmen we have, where we protected their jobs locally, and of course are paid by Royal Mail, then we'd be over probably £350,000. So we've retained the services for the benefit of the local communities, and we're also injecting into the local economy, because communities had to go, thriving communities had to go with a thriving local economy. Can't have one without the other. When we took on the petrol garage, with more in a minute, it obviously attracted some national attention, because doing the first of anything in the nation always does, and the Times turned up. No, not the sort of Bridlington Times or the Labour Times, but the real Times. And they did a really nice piece on what we were doing. Although they did use the wrong photograph, they used a photograph of babies instead of Hawes, but there you go. And in their editorial, nonetheless, the Times, we were described as the Northern Powerhouse. And I remember the Times reporter, a nice man, and he said, "Come on, John, what was the thinking behind it all? Come on, there must be a strategy, a grand plan." And just like our colleague from Regather, we made a thing out of not having a grand plan. Works that better? And I'm not that sort of person anyhow. What we were and are and will always remain is an organisation, and if something lands on the doormat the night before, we'll be working on it the next day. If it can deliver what we need to deliver to keep our local communities going. That's how it's worked. We're a can-do organisation. Yes, occasionally we've gone out to actually attract new services, usually because we were worried about what might happen to them if we didn't. For example, the petrol garage again, and the bus services. But by and large, we've been guided in our development by literally, as I say, something that's turned up on the door, and we've been ready to move quickly, fleet of foot, to make sure that the services that were in danger of losing, for example, like post office, we were able to save. So, what's the driver? Passion. Lovely word. Passion. Enthusiasm. Determination. Never, ever, ever taking no for an answer when there's even that much of a chance of extracting yes from those who will let you carry on or will help you to deliver. Ingredients? Yes, you need a leader. My own experience, I'm an independent councillor, by the way. Leader of the independents at North Yorkshire, had been for 12 years the leader of the district council at Richmondshire. Leading independents has all the attraction of herding stray cats. Or worse. Although you've got a very good one here in Scarborough, Janet Jefferson, one of my North Yorkshire County councillors, independent. I'm a leader, and I cut my teeth on leading the public campaign that saved the Wensleydale Creamery. I hope you all enjoy Wensleydale cheese and you make sure that it comes from Hawes, because accept no other substitute. As I said yesterday to somebody who was interviewing me, you can buy it in Malaysia, you can buy it in Margate, you can buy it in Durban, South Africa, and you can buy it in New York. But in 1992, when we were fighting Dairy Quest to keep the dairy open, they closed it, and we reopened it as a community. You couldn't buy it at all. In fact, of all things, what a gift to deliver into the hands of a campaign group that knows how to work the media. They were going to transfer production of Yorkshire's most famous cheese to Longridge in Lancashire. Unbelievable, isn't it? When I drive past where they were going to re-establish the Wensleydale Creamery in Lancashire at Longridge, I do smile, because the creamery there closed down, and now it's a place where you can buy a second-hand caravan. How appropriate. So that's how I got involved, but we couldn't be where we are without the tremendous team that we have supporting us. That's a team of part-time and full-time employees. That's a team of volunteers. Probably hear more about that from Water, I'm sure you will. Brilliant people. Many people who've moved into the Dales wanting to pay back in the way of giving up their free time. And we had one volunteer who's probably given up a year of 30 hours a week over the 7 years we've been running the Little White Bus, so that's some contribution. They want to pay back that community for giving up the public spirited their time. Why? Because that community made them feel so welcome when they arrived in the first place. Yes, we needed a big name or two on our side, and the big name that we've had, to be fair, has been North Yorkshire County Council. It's been absolutely brilliant. And so I was delighted when we finally found the street here to find that my computer works okay, because the County Council are involved in this building. And we needed, probably above all else, yes, definitely above all else, the support of the local community in what we were doing. If you're trying to do something for the local community and they're fighting you, one way or the other, if they're sniping, you're not going to be successful. We've had 100% ownership of what we do by our local community. And I knew we really arrived when a farmer, Swaledale farmer, 5th generation, can remember what the weather was like in 1850 because his great-great-grandfather told him so, you know what I mean? There, looked at me and he said, John, he said, that's wonderful, our little white bus. It is that ownership that's really important. And yes, you need good fortune as well, luck on your side. And the catalyst, really, because a lot of this was in the local community, and it needed something to bring it out, and it was appealing to that streak of granite that is in the communities in the Upper Dales. There's that self-reliance. The Daily Mail called us the capital of self-reliance in an article about the petrol station. And they did it at a central attribute of the local communities. Independence as well. They wouldn't have elected me otherwise, I guess. And also, of all, there's a cutting side to the nature of the people I represent in the Upper Dales. They can tear you apart in the public bar of the Crown. You know, they've quite occasionally done that. And the next day, they say good morning. So it's lovely to have that, you know, cutting nature that won't take no for an answer, as I say, when there's a chance of getting yes. And what's the result? Wonderful self-esteem for the local community. A can-do attitude that means we can tackle anything we feel within our remit, and now we are being approached by organisations to help deliver their aspirations, their objectives, without question, because we have a track record of success. Punching above your weight, the feel-good factor, success. They're all there, those words, aren't they, when you're running an organisation like this? And it's all that sense of pride from within that local community that you actually trade on. And we've managed for those local communities in the Upper Dales, these very remote, deeply rural communities, in an era of public spending cutback, which, to be fair, is not the politics of envy, it's the politics of reality. But because of the cost of delivering services in deeply rural areas is always the first thing to actually put for the accountant's job. We lack the critical mass. So those services were going to disappear. We've managed to save them, deliver them at a lower cost than what they were delivered by the local authorities and other organisations, and give a better service. We'll hear more about that from Walter. I claim that we're the antidote to austerity. Lovely phrase, that. And we've now walked into the private-public sector by taking on the garage, and I must just say a few words about that before I then pass on to Walter. I think we've passed 12 petrol garages on the way from Hawes to here, 90 miles. None of them can touch the price that we're selling petrol for. 125 a litre unleaded, 127 a litre diesel. It's almost worth coming all the way to Hawes just to get a tank full. And you'll be welcome. Spend some money whilst you're there. Why? Why? Because in part we're helped on this occasion by the nature of our community. It's so far from the refinery that the government give us 5p a litre discount as long as we put it back into the price. There's only 10 communities in all of England that get that. Virtually all of them are in Devon and Cornwall, and we're, as I say, the one in the north. Scotland have a few more. But now, because of our prices, because of the great support the local community is giving, because they have this ownership, we're now selling £8,000 worth of diesel a day and fuel a day. That will be about £1.25 million worth of fuel in a year. That's just under 40% up on the previous garage, which was private run. And I say to people, there's no point in operating a community-run garage without bringing benefit for the local community that you're serving. I'm not blaming the previous operators. They were in the private sector, but they were about to sell to a development company, and then we wouldn't have any petrol at all. And that's why we stepped in. That surplus, and there is a surplus from that, then goes into how we finance our organisation. And these are my final points, because people are saying, well, how do you do it? We do it on the basis of cross-subsidy. You'll never, ever, ever run a post office in a place like the Upper Dales and make a profit. You're always going to lose. There's 600 postmasters vacancies available throughout England because simply the old days of giving basically a salary to somebody just to actually set up the business have gone. It's all based on performance, and post offices perform better, at least the ones at the local level where there are within convenience stores or larger stores, and we don't have those. So there's a wonderful local essential service, we must keep it. Places like Ingleton and Middleton in Teesdale, much bigger than Hawes, haven't got a post office. We've retained it, and we can only retain it where we have to make surpluses from either of the services that we run to keep it going. Cross-subsidy. So you can juggle with the finances, and you can deliver what you're all about here, community-driven social enterprise. So my final message then is, yes, you can do it. You may not want to do it our way, but you can do it. You'll have the most wonderful sense of pride from the community to whom you're doing it for, and two, everybody joins in that sense of pride. It's evident on the streets of Hawes and in the Upper Dales. To me, that's not enough. As I we are planning succession planning, but actually, by the way, my friend from Sheffield, they've been planning succession planning for me from the day after I formed the organisation, but I'm still here 20 years later. What I want to see, not only I want to feel that pride, and I do every day, and we all do in the team, and the volunteers. I want to see it replicated elsewhere. And so I've addressed a number of audiences along with Walter, sometimes by myself. There, we talked about it can be done, maybe a different mix, but communities are quite capable of being self-reliant. You just have to stir them some way or the other into action. How you do it depends on the community, but don't say it can't be done, because you can. I've driven 92 miles to give you that message, and we're going to be driving, so you've been driving, haven't you? I'll drive back. We'll drive 92 miles back, but please take it from us. Do it, you'll feel great. Let other people copy what you're doing, you'll feel even better. You might have a different mix, as I say, but the same result, success. Thank you very much indeed.